Hello guys, welcome. Welcome to another episode of Ripster Daily Trade Recaps and Daily Teachings. Guys, another day. The craziness, bullish, crazy bullish market. It's so bullish, it's scary. I know, but regardless of that, we stay with the trend. We trade the market. So another huge day led by Meta winner. So we will discuss all that. We will find some teachings, some learnings from the trades today. We'll discuss losers, winners, discuss how we manage the bias. Lot to discuss today, guys. Hope everybody has having a great weekend. Let's start with some introduction. All right, guys, these are my recaps from my trading community that I share with my traders, or my traders share with me on the trading floor in Tenet trading community, or any ideas that I share on Twitter, X, and we follow a repeatable process. All these our trades and community are repeatable setups, repeatable systems, same thing again and again. We do same thing. We do not change anything. We are always doing the same setups. We have a list of 10-15 setups that we do in the morning, in the mid, in the end of the day. We just repeat those setups. So that's how we do it here. So we'll discuss some winners, we'll discuss some losers, how our ideas work. Every day I'm up 1 hour before the market open, and me and my team, we are creating, we go through all the new sources. I share pre-market movers, bunch of pre-market movers, 1, 2, 3, all the pre-market movers, downgrades, upgrades with my community, and then I come up with my game plan for the day. This was a watch list for today: Tesla, Intel, Meta, Amazon, Apple, and a bunch of others falling into different categories, and the game plan and the support and pivot and resistance pivot. My community understands what needs to be done, how this game plan works. Not only this, then we also create what are my rip levels. Basically, those are support, resistance pivots on SPY, QQQ, IWM, and the marketplace. The marketplace are like Microsoft, AMD, Boeing, or all the names that we usually play. Most of these names were in news play today, so you see rest of them I give the levels every day regardless of news or not, so that we can execute if we see a trend, using Ripster, EMA Clouds. So guys, so those were introductions. That was introduction about my community, about me. If you want to know more about me, you can go and see the link in the comments and read more about me. Anyways, guys, that's introductions. Let's start with our first play of the day. All right, guys, we are going to start with the biggest play of the day, the money maker of the day, that paid us all day, and we met all our targets today. Meta. So guys, what was the game plan on Meta? Let's go back and see what was the game plan. Game plan on Meta was simple. The support pivots were 455, 449, and resistance pivots was 466, right? So let's see what happened. Initially, I expected some profit taking. If I go to 1 minute, I expected some profit taking when the market opened. So, I expected the bounce at the pivots, but before that, I expected some profit taking. And that's when I was scalp shorting the short at the open. My target was 450, so I was shorting it, and then I told everybody, you need to be fast, right? We were trading 450p's. It moved from 459, from 457s all the way to 454s. I was hoping we bounce at 450, but the buyer came in before that. You see some pre-market levels here, and it's coming back right there, and it swiped right back. Immediately I closed my short scalps, and this is what I told everyone. Okay, so you see short with the put, then I said 544, 444 buyer is back, long the Lottos over 465, it will push, right? I said buyer is swiping long Lottos. I said it that in first 5 minutes, and look at where it's bouncing, right from the Ripster Clouds, My levels were 450, and of course Ripster Cloud is always a level, but it respected the system, right? And I was not looking for gap fill anyways. I was looking for a little short and then swipe back anyways. So that was the swipe back, and then we go right into the Lottos. And I was guiding everybody on the voice that once we break 466, remember the pivot I gave in pre-market, then it's gonna go. Nothing is too high, guys. Dividend is a big deal. Institutions want to jump in. Earnings are crazy. When it fades, when it pulls back, that's different. But right now, there's a FOMO in the market. Market is crazily bullish. Companies like Meta are doing buybacks, giving dividends. So you can't just short anything just thinking it's too high, and you can't just think it's not gonna go higher. No, market doesn't work that way. Follow the system. I knew if 466 breaks, I told everybody if a 466 breaks, we are going to 480 today. And that's why I took the Lottos. 474 was my first target. I added 475 Lottos. And you see, just to teach my traders, I showed them that I'm actually trading Meta with them, just to show how I hold till the target. 33%, 67%, 88%, 100%. 141%. It's finally 178%. And if you were faster than me, then some of you were probably 300%. Right? And you see my continued guidance. Use the profit to low, roll further. Use the 1/4 left. I added 480s. Then I also traded 485s. And I told everybody you can add 480 Lottos with profit, 100% risk if it makes next leg up. And guess what? We moved to 480s. Then my next target was, 480 was next target. We rejected 478. That's fine. Pulls back, holds the level. Look here, holds the level. No big deal. Holding a 10-minute trend. Then boom, hits the 480 target right there. Right? So yeah. So when the price alerts were hitting 480 target met, you see the price alert mid-afternoon hitting. Then I said you can roll into the next Lottos. 485 was the next target, and we met our next target, 485 as well. I had the 485 Lottos, which went 100% as well. You see right here, bought at 185. It actually went higher, but this was the price. I had at that time. So. Meta trade, great timing, everything great, solid trade. These are the trades, and look at this today. And look at how community did it. They crossed it, right? They literally crushed it. So you can see how the community did literally killed it. 100% on Meta, and small account on Meta increased 30-40%. So literally, Vasco had 500%, 100%. So, so that, see, look at Cody's account was up 60%. So my point is, when there's a setup, you need to execute. You need to execute. I discussed this on yesterday's video as well. And, this is a bullish market. As long as it's bullish, you need to capitalize on that bullish market. So anyways, guys, beautiful trade today. Great guidance. I showed you the option Lottos as well, and even the shares were not bad. If you added shares at 460, you risked $6-7. You made $20 one risk, 4 reward or 3 reward, right? So even with the shares, even if you had 100 shares, you risked $400-500. You made $2,000. That was the trade, guys. Even with the shares for you guys. Beautiful trade. Let's go to the next one. I'm going to talk about Tesla, how we were short Tesla in the morning, and how we traded Tesla long. This trade also actually I gave on Twitter. I will show you in a minute. Let's first see why were we short on Tesla. Short on Tesla was simple. Our the pivots were 184s and 188s was the resistance pivot. It was heavy. There was a news that was on the Tesla, and let's just check it out. Let's go and check it out right now and see. Before we go to the long idea, how we traded. So Win was on it, right? So it was breaking those pivots. It never reclaimed the bullish. And I did tell everyone, bearish, do not long under the clouds. Do not long under the clouds, right? And Win was on it, and then I said no long, only short, and all day it was just fading, riding the 512 from 186.50 and all the way down to 182. Even broke the pivots from yesterday. There was a good scalp, and then something happened midday, right? So let's talk about that. What was that? That were the swipes coming in. I shared, let me show you. All right, sorry, just need to repeat the Tesla. I just had to pause the video there. So what I was saying was, on the Tesla in the morning we were short, and I clearly told everybody that we are bearish to neutral. There's no long under the clouds. I clearly mentioned it. So that was the short. Win was on a short. Win was talking about the short, and it was breaking both the pivots. I gave 184, 820 was the pivot that break, and it faded to 182, and it could go to 180. But anyways, then comes the long. There was no long here, no long here. There's no reason to long here. It tried to curl 512, it dropped back. But then they swiped. A big hammer candle came in. You see this? Big hammer candle came in. The shorts thought it's breaking down of a bear flag, but they swiped it right back. And I looked at it. What did I see? I saw a lot of sweeps coming in. Let's see. Next week 187.50 came on the flow. Look at this. And then I told everybody that we can push. There was few reasons, right? The flow came in, then we reversed on the 512 clouds. So one reason is flow, second reason is clouds, and then we are flagging here at 34.50, and I said we can push more over 34.50, right? And let me show you how I guided everybody on Twitter as well on this trade. So let's go back. So let's go here, look at my first tweet. I said option sweepers showing up, and of course I was in the community was guiding, and then look, the sweeps coming here, flagging at 34.50, right? And defined risk reward, short strapped hammer candle, sweeps coming in. You can still scalp. You can risk your 34.50 candles lows, and I gave everybody 187 target on the voice in community. And then I also told everybody on Twitter that we are going to 188 next target, and 188 target coming, and we got more than 188, 188.49. So you see how it's a beautiful midday scalp, 512 curl and 34.50 curl. And this setup was with, not only this setup was with conviction, because there was flow as well, and market was bullish as crazy. So you see how this gave, and even Twitter followers did really good, and they did really good on there. So just a good example, guys, that you need to be on top of everything. You need to see what's working, what's not, and so that you can execute, and it hit all the targets today. Nice reversal play. We were bearish all morning. Remember one thing, you do not need the lowest entry on the longs. You need the most probable entry. Okay, look for most probable entry. Do not look for the lowest entry on any of your trades or investments. All right, guys, let's look at Amazon now. So Amazon I was short, and I was loser on the short in the morning. My first thing was short, even though, first let's go check the pivots on Amazon, right? So what were our pivots on Amazon? Our pivots for Amazon support was 168, 168.40. Upside pivot was 170, 140. So let's see, did Amazon break our pivot or not, right? So Amazon pulled under the clouds, and that's why I shorted it. Let me show you. Let's see. So that's why I shorted Amazon, because it was under the cloud. I shorted it for the gap fill, but then it swiped back on me right away, right? So, and I knew that if it's swiping back, it holds the cloud, it's no longer a short, and I covered quickly for the lows, right? And then I said held the pivots in next 4 minutes. I told everybody held the pivots, I will close the short. So I took the loss, and then it was a long idea versus the clouds, and now the risk was under the clouds. So you basically, if you're longing here, so you're short, you cover the short, and you watch a dip, and you add long, and you move your stops under the clouds right here. And then what happens? Not the best of mover, but you be patient, and then look here. I told everyone it's time to break out over the pivot at 11:41, and it breaks out. It breaks out of that 171 and finally goes to 172.40. So if you add it around 170 and you know, over 169s, mid 169s, risking like a dollar, dollar and a half, you certainly made $2 or more on this trade and recovered your morning losses. So that was Amazon, guys. You know, if you're short, you need to cover and look for the long, right? And yes, you can get chopped up on both sometime, and then you don't touch it, you move on. But as long as it holds a trend on one side, is showing you the trend on one side, that's fine. And it was choppy, I would agree. Not the best trade, but it did set up for later in the day. So that's, options would have killed you and earlier in the morning on these ones. That's why the focus was on Meta. You know, made much more than Meta than what we lost in Amazon. All right, I'm going to quickly talk about SMCI. So SMC guidance was given in the pre-market. Let's see what I said. I said 590 is the support, pivot 600 short if under pivots. I clearly told everyone to short it if it's under pivots, and look what happened. SMCI tries to push and then it breaks, flushes in the pivot. So even if you were long, you need to turn bearish right away. And I was on the voice and I told everybody, right, it's a short, it's a short. And at, you know, even at 10 a.m. I gave everybody 570 target. Right, at 10 a.m. I gave everybody 570 target, and if you see, let's go to a smaller time frame, and when I gave that target, it was trading at 587 and we hit 570. You know, in next 10 minutes we hit, in 10:15 we hit 565s, right? So that's how you know, trade fast, you stay in the trade. SMCI, people really did good. You just need to focus. You can't trade 30 things, you just need to focus, right, on that. And SMCI was really nice for everyone under the clouds. The fade was, if you followed the pivots, from 590, and 600 is always a big psychological level, guys. I even told you guys yesterday that, you know, that's you know, that 600 level is a big psychological level, and it's always a big resistance, right? 590 held once, but the second time it broke, it was never able to hold. And SMCI was never really confirmed you long, because a candle never made a lower high or higher high or higher low over 600. So that was SMCI, guys. Beautiful short, and then it double bottomed and bounced, and you could have taken that 512 later in the day, but that was SMCI. Nice trade. Let's look at Apple. Apple was mostly, I was guiding everybody on the voice, because I was busy with Meta. So I was talking about Apple. I said bullish over the clouds, but here was my plan in the pre-market on Apple. So Apple, the plan, if breaks 180 will fade. Huge level on daily. B minus bounce if 180 holds. Upper resistance pivot is 183. Lower support is 180. As soon as it turns over the clouds, that's when you know it's a long. You risk under the clouds, the lower candle under the clouds. You take it long and ride it long. What was my pivot? 183, right? I gave you that pivot. And after that, it was all day guidance, 184 first target, and it pushed to 187. If you added at 183, you risked $1.50. You made $4. Look at the range on Apple today. It was such a big range. Apple never trades that much. It traded 225% of its ATR, and it had relative volume of 185%. So Apple, guys, there was just amazing trade today. Here's all the time-stamped guidance. I was also on the voice, and I told everybody to hold, you know, because I can see the trend. I can see the flag breaking. I can see it pushing, right? So that's how it was, guys. Beautiful trade. All right, let's look at CHTR. So CHTR was our, from pre-market, CHTR was simple, bearish bias to short the pops. I told everybody in the pre-market, the plan was given on CHTR. And what did CHTR do? CHTR, we were short right at open. I told everybody I'm short, still heavy. Ride it, and it faded from 336 to 316. It traded for, I got 16 shares. There's dollar per share, but it gave $20 per share. Whole day there was no bounce on CHTR. You could have stayed short all day. There was no reason to cover. Beautiful trade, guys. pure guidance during the day, and the plan in the pre-market, the amazing setup CHTR. You know why? Because I like the daily. The daily had broken a big support too. So I always look at the daily charts. You know, I just don't blindly look what intraday it's doing. I have to see what levels are being broken on daily chart. That's why I teach everyone. Look at your daily levels. You know, 1 hour was here this is daily, and if I go to 1 hour, it was already breaking everything. This 360 support and then daily support. If I draw from here, I knew it's going to come to that daily support right here at 315, breaking from 360. There's nothing in between. You can clearly see. All right, let's look at deck, guys. Deck, I gave the plan. What was the plan on deck I gave in the pre-market? Deck was simple, low volume, wide range. If it holds, look for Lotos, upside pivot 845, and what happens? Deck pushes right at open, and I told everybody the long Lotos from the pre-market, you know, I was busy with other planes, but the plan idea kind of worked out, and even at 10 a.m. it was flagging, and it went on. I gave 900 target to everyone. If you see, at 10 a.m. I gave that target. At 10 a.m. I gave the target, and the stock was trading at 75, and we hit 900 pretty soon there, right? So you see 895 here, and by end of the day, you know, we hit that. It pulled from 900 but held this level, and then finally we met our 900 target. Another winning idea. Let's look at 21. Let's look at RCL. So RCL, guys, what was the plan on RCL? Let's go back. Let's go back to our pre-market planning. Our pre-market planning on RCL was different. It was a day 2 setup. Day 2 setups I have explained many times. Bullish over the clouds, bearish under, find the pivots. The pivots was 128 and 126. You know, this was supposed to be here, but it was 126 was our pivot. And once that 126 breaks, all you do is you get short in RCL, you know, day 2 short. I haven't talked about it, and then you fade it all day. Nice from the pre-market plan. All right, guys, let's quickly look at AMD and NVDA. I was not trading AMD NVIDIA, but I was guiding everybody all day. And here's the beauty of the pivots, right? You know, these are the day 2, day 3 setups. The resistance pivots are given 174, 643 for a minute, and NVIDIA, and you just look at it, right? They're breaking the pivots over the clouds, and my traders know what they need to do, and they were just nailing it. NVIDIA was much better than AMD. Nice morning trades, and there was also a midday bounce setup on AMD right here. So you could see that there was a nice midday bounce setup on AMD right here. You see that, right? So that was a nice setup. And same for NVIDIA. All day I was, you know, all day, and then I gave people this flag break and pullbacks into 10 a.m. because you always take first profits into 10 a.m. and then you know, NVIDIA broke the flag and pushed higher, and it was just, you know, keep going. And you know, one thing you don't notice that NVIDIA was a nice range break on daily chart. There was this setup here. So this was a range break. I teach you about this range break many times. Up, down, up, down, up, down, right? And break up. All-time highs. That's an A plus setup. You know, that's an A plus setup. And I teach that again and again. So, you know, remember that. So that was NVIDIA, guys. Let's look at Google. All right. So Google was, guys, again, our Google was a day 2 support was 139. I had told everyone if that 139 support breaks, it can fade too, but you can clearly see Google breaking the previous day lows, and then Google breaking even that 139, and nice fade, nice short. It was a simple setup, and everybody, you know, people trading Google on their own, they did really good. You know, so nothing special about it. Simple bearish setup. I told everybody it was bearish, and then came the reversal on Google, higher lows, and then reversal over the 512 EMA Clouds. That was Google. So the team was a morning scalp short. I told everybody the team is under 230s is a short, right? That was my pivot. And if you were traded at open under 230s, you go 210, nice morning trade, almost 10 15 points you could easily got it. After that you had to cover because it was making high lows, high lows, high lows, and I didn't trade after that, but it did fade from here. So and then fade. I don't like those fades. I want to be either in the morning fades if they break this lows and keep fading, but team already made such a big move in the first candle, there was not much room left. So let's look at CLX, guys. CLX was nothing, it was a simple short under the pivots. Let's look at our pivots. On CLX, pivot was 155.50. I said gap fill under 155 and long over. That's what I told everybody. You can see here in the pre-market, and it broke that 155.50, went to 153. It's a decent short. Still heavy in the gap. We did get the full gap fill because it's not necessary that we get the full gap fill, but so we got 5 or 50% retracement on this gap fill, right? If you draw the Fibonacci from the close to the opening price today, you see we got the 50% Fibonacci. So that's always one of the targets, and it's bouncing from that, you need to cover. All right, guys, last one I'm just going to quickly cover. If you watch my yesterday video, I talked about the cloud names, okay? Even in the morning, even I tweeted about the cloud names, and we put it on the watch list, that cloud names are Amazon's sympathy and they can move. And I told everybody on the watch, and look at all three of them: Snow, DDOG, MDB. Snow, DDOG, MDB, everything, all the clouds move. The reason I'm showing this is that there's so many ideas that you need to keep eyes on, and I was not trading a lot of clouds. I scalped some Snow, but you need to know what you want to trade, right? There's so many ideas, right? There is some losers needs to be small, winners needs to be big. I lost in Amazon, but I made it up much more on the winner side. So that was so we in the community are always on top of everything. So Snow, MDB, people really did good. Today was one of the best days for communities. Remember one thing: in a bullish day, things are easier, everybody feels genius, but we need to be cautious, we need to be calm, and we need to make sure we do not go crazy on a lot of these winnings, and market can take it all back next day. So anyways, cloud names, there was a reason they were moving, and good job by many traders who got those cloud names. All right, guys, I'm just not gonna talk much about SPY QQQ. It was just a simple cloud turn, gap, pull back to support, push to the cloud. So just want to talk about SPY. Okay, let me just take these drawings out here. If I take these drawings out here, I wanna see again. I think market wants to push to 500 or 5,000 on SPX before it does anything. It was a nice breakout today of the recent highs. That 491 was a big breakout. So you always look on daily whenever you're trading SPY, SPX. This is a 491.20 big breakout, and then it's going to push higher over that. So then right here and then right here, you can see, right? So that was the bullishness right there, and clouds turning, and you could long there on this flag break. I even tweeted about it. I all day I was tweeting about this on Twitter, about these flag setups, giving everybody these setups. It's just so simple. In bullish market, all the patterns work so flawlessly, right? So let's look here, right? So I've been talking about these flags all day. Look at this, my morning tweet, flagging under the clouds. This morning flag, breakout here, boom, then more highs, then another flag, and you know what happened after that, right? We went to 496. There was this pullback, they swiped it right back. They trap the shorts doing this, but you see, the golden rule is when things are over 30 for 50, there is not really a short. Everything is a long, the dips are long, you buy those dips. And literally some of the calls I was trading on SPX went 100% by on this swipe back up, and you can see the push, right? Look at the range, SPX traded almost 150% of its range. SPY traded is 150% of its range. So you can see how that works out, right? So anyways, guys, have a happy weekend, happy good weekend. I'm gonna review. Maybe I'll put another video before the review for what we look forward for the next week. But this is it for today. Enjoy your weekend. See you next week. We do it again. And if any questions, ask me in the comments, DM me, or you can go on my website as well. And if you want to trade with me, join my community. Come for ideas, come for guidance. Do not come for blind alerts. No alerts have made anyone Warren Buffett. So remember that. All right, guys, take care. Bye bye.